Book 2, Chapter 4. Results come from effort, not fate or chance. Acts of the present life are stronger than those of previous lives. Vasishtha said, I know, gentle Rama, that liberation of the soul is the same whether it is embodied or disembodied state. Just like seawater and its waves are the same liquid substance. Liberation, whether of embodied or disembodied spirit, consists of their detachment from the objects of sense. Hence, the soul, unattached to sensual gratification, is liberated, having no idea of objects of the senses. We see before us the living, liberated sage Vyasa as an embodied person. Yet we have no doubt of the detachment of his inner soul from his body. The difference between embodied and disembodied souls, when they are equally enlightened and liberated, is like that of the seawater in its calm and billowy states. There is no more difference between liberation in the body and without the body than there is between air in motion and at rest. Liberation, with or without the body, produces unselfishness. We have lost our selfishness since we have come to the knowledge of an undivided unity. Well, these are some very important statements that give us validation of the silent witness. In particular, knowledge of an undivided unity. When we connect with the silent witness, we're connecting with that unity of all consciousness. At first, it may appear to be a silent witness connected to our own consciousness. But that's just a perspective issue. We must become the silent witness. Let go of your attention and habit of thinking that you have some ownership of consciousness. That's called selfishness, right? When you claim ownership of something, you're bringing it into your individual existence. So that's a mistake, that's an illusion, it's never been that way. So first we connect with the silent witness, finding the silence deep in our mind. And then we can't stop there, we must go on, letting go of any ownership of the silent witness, literally becoming the silent witness. And then we are liberated. That simple. That is enlightenment, moksha, liberation. It's been described in many, many ways. Often, moksha is described as witnessing the activities that go on around us from a state of higher consciousness that never sleeps. It is always awake. But that is the silent witness, the undivided unity. So she's just laying the stage for helping Ram to let go of his ownership of despondency. He is identified with being despondent. Verse 7. Therefore attend to the true doctrine that I'm going to deliver to you. which will be a jewel to your ears, as it will dispel the darkness of ignorance. Know, O son of Ragu, that everything in this world is attainable by our efforts being properly employed. Now, what does that mean? We have to exert effort to obtain something. Effort is the direction of attention, and then we reinforce it. If it's physical, something that we want, then effort is reinforced by some physical activity. If it's silent witness that we want, we have discovered that is the undivided unity of life. Then the effort is in letting go. That's an effort, isn't it? It's an effort to hold something, and it is an effort to let it go. Letting go is the easiest effort. It is effortless effort. But it is a direction of consciousness. Verse 9, this knowledge that there is no other way to gain results except but by our efforts rises like the moon in the human mind and sheds its cooling and delightful influence to the heart. It will become evident that we see the results of our efforts and that nothing comes from what the dull and mistaken call chance or fate. See, when we realize that we are human beings, that we have an ability to connect with the silent witness, we have to exert that effort to find the silent witness, connect with it, and become the silent witness. So this is very important. If we do nothing, oh, someone said there's a silent witness. But after all, with a silent witness, that's who we are, we have to do nothing. But no, that's not quite true, because if we're observing the silent witness as something other than our own self, if we are observing it, yeah, there it is over there. Now I just have to wait for it to come to me. No, that's wrong. You must become the silent witness. It doesn't come to you. The silent witness does not become you. You become the silent witness. You see, you indicates existence, indicates that you are separate from something. Exist means to stand out. As long as you have this sense of existence, I exist, then you still have something to do. And the ultimate thing to do is to become that which does not exist. Give up your existence. Existence is a form of selfishness. The question has arisen. Many long-term meditators have developed a spiritual ego from thinking they are the creator. How does one take the important step of realizing They are the silent witness, but yet remain detached from the ego, and in service to the Creator. Well, that's the big mistake, isn't it? Thinking you're the Creator. So you're not the Creator. Of course, we're working in the field of achieving Brahman consciousness. But that is just to occupy the ego. We talk about the ego like we talk about somebody who's in the room as if they're not there. But they're there. As long as there are any karmic traces, then as long as there's any sense of existence, then there's the ego. And the Creator of the universe, well, that seems to be a really big ego, doesn't it? Creator of the universe. Quite different from the silent witness. So we have to let go of that, even that we're the creator of the universe. But we should take this process step by step, or the ego gives up. The ego doesn't want to continue. Ultimately, the ego knows that we're on a path of its own self-destruction. Ultimately, the ego knows that it does not exist. And in the case of Ram, he was beginning to get that sense, because everything that he saw around him was of no value, including his own existence, his own life. He saw no value in it. But if we just stop there and do nothing, in other words, do not take that final step, it is a step. We have to become the silent witness. And the way we become it is we let go. It's a little bit like the stories of Carlos Castaneda and his adventures with Don Juan. Don Juan was always telling Carlos to leap off into the abyss. Well, that's pretty frightening for the ego, to jump into an abyss having no idea what's at the bottom or what is in that abyss. Big challenge for the ego to leap into the abyss. And that's almost what we're doing when we're saying become the silent witness. It's very safe and comfortable to observe the silent witness, because what's happening in that case, we still exist, don't we? Who's observing? Well, I'm observing. I'm the one who exists. Over here is the silent witness. It might exist, I don't know. But for sure I exist because I am watching, observing the silent witness. Takes faith. Takes faith that when we let go and become the silence, that we're going to be able to come back and exist again. See, that's in the back of the mind, sort of. The ego is saying, okay, yes, become the silence, all right. And all I have to do is let go, and then exist again, right? Isn't that how it's going to work? Okay, I'll try it. I'll become the silence. Once you become the silence, then something happens. You don't want to go back to existing. So the ego has literally participated in its own demise. And then the challenge becomes, how do I remain identified as the silent witness? Because all the ravings of the ego, the karmic traces, want to pull me back out of the silence. And so then we're back on the path again. We have to go from here to there. But now the here is, I'm connected with the silence. I am the silent witness. And over there is the ego. Over there are all the things that exist, and I'm observing them. And at first, the things that we observe are the ego and our own karmic traces. What we say are our own karmic traces, those karmic traces that created this illusion of existence. We observe that first and we claim them as our own. And we see somebody else and they have karmic traces too. But those are their karmic traces. He's here, these are my karmic traces. So even from the perspective of this silent witness, we notice some sense of ownership of even karmic traces. So that's just the beginning. We're at level 1 moksha. It's good enough to get us out of the cycle of birth and death. But it's not the objective. The objective is having no ownership of anything. No sense that these are my karmic traces and those are that person's karmic traces. The sense that there is another person. We're witnessing that person that we're familiar with, that we grew up with. But eventually we let go of that identification. We don't see any difference between this person and all the other people, everyone on earth, all 7.8 billion people. There's no difference between any of them. At some point, we cannot find that person, which we used to call myself. We don't find it anymore. What we see is a sea or an ocean full of water, and that little drop of water that we used to claim to be me can't be identified anymore. At that point, we've reached unity consciousness. All life is perceived in that sense that there's no difference. It's all one. But it is still separate from the silent witness because we're witnessing life. We're seeing it as something separate. And so we want to take that final step in this universe and observe everything as the creator of the universe. And it's real easy to mood make that and just say, oh yes, okay, I agree, I'm the creator of the universe. Well, that's done, what's next? It's one thing to have that concept. It's quite another thing to have that realization. To literally witness the universe is going on in my own consciousness. Now, what do I say? My own consciousness. Well, there's somebody else's consciousness over there. Yeah, there are other creators. Then one becomes aware of the vast ocean of creators. And that whole sense of being in this ocean, we just got out of it. We just escaped the ocean of humanity. All the 7.8 billion people, we began to see them as only one life, one existence. Now here we are again in the middle of the ocean with all these trillions of other creators. Cycle upon cycle upon cycle, is the way things are when we're in the field of manifestation. So then we're called upon to transcend again. We still have a firm grip on the silent witness. We are the silent witness, but our field of witnessing has changed from witnessing our own original body that we had at the beginning of this lifetime to witnessing all the bodies in the universe and all the activities that are going on, to witnessing all the creators in the Karana ocean, trillions of creators, each one of them dreaming up a universe. And still there's this need to identify as existing. So we take hold of an eternal existence as an eternal companion of Krishna. And that brings a bit of satisfaction. But still, we're existing, aren't we? We have to let go of that. So we take it step by step by step. It's a pretty good step to become the creator. Verse 11. An effort, when directed according to the counsel and conduct of the good in the exercise of the action of the body and mind, is attended with success. Otherwise, it is as vain as the freak of a madman. This is he who hopes to acquire riches and perseveres in his acquisition, surely succeeds in gaining them, or else he stops short midway. It was by means of their efforts that some particular persons have obtained the paramount dominion of Indra over the three worlds. It is by effort that one attains the rank of the lotus-born Brahman, and some by effort even gain the inner joy of the state of Brahman. It is by virtue of effort that somebody becomes the best among men, even as he who bears the flag of the eagle, Vishnu among the gods. It was by the exertion of one's efforts that some succeeded to obtain the form of Shiva, accompanied by his female power, and adorned by the crescent moon as his crest. Know our actions to be of two kinds, namely those of former and present lives. Know that the acts of the present life generally supersede those of the past. Know also that energy joined with constant practice and supported by wisdom and some stimulating force is able to break down Mount Meru and the demerits of acts in men's former lives. The exertions of a man proceeding from his good efforts and countenanced by the law lead to his success, or else they either go for nothing or turn to his disadvantage. Well, what Vasishtha is describing here is the effort required to identify and balance individual karmic traces. Now, Ram just finished a beautiful description of the divine karmic traces, and yet he was still trapped by existence. That means that even though he had balanced enough karmic traces to have a clear vision of the divine karmic traces and could describe them with such perfection that no one had ever heard such a beautiful description before, he was still bound by his karmic traces, wasn't he? So Vasishtha is pointing out, you can't stop here. You still think you exist. You're still not identified as the silent witness, the unifying aspect of all. So he must continue balancing karmic traces. And we know that's an effort. Every day, 7 times a day, we sit down and begin the effort of performing the meditation that is going to balance yet some more karmic traces. Or we attend this meeting and listen to the Yoga Vasishtha, keeping our awareness firmly established in the silent witness. And the words in the Yoga Vasishtha are doing their magic, reconstructing our knowledge constructs into the perfect mode of the knowledge constructs of the Creator. But still, it's an effort, isn't it? I have people coming to me wanting to join the community. And they say, well, I would certainly want to do this, but I just like to connect with spirit in my own way. I don't want to go through some rigid practice of meditation. Well, okay. Actually, I say, sure, you can join. You don't have to meditate. But it does cost this much money. So what am I doing? Making a bargain with their ego, right? Okay, ego says, I don't have that much money, so okay, I'll do this meditation. I'll earn my way in. So we help them to take that effort that's needed to continue balancing their karmic traces. They've reached a state where they think they don't have anymore. They think they're done. I've achieved all. I am the Creator. I know that already. Yeah, well, okay. If you're the creator, then obviously you've got a lot of wealth, so here's how much it takes. Join the community. Oh, well, okay, well, let me do this meditation. And they're beginning to acknowledge them, not quite yet, have arrived. Verse 20, a man laid up in a state of disability is unable to twist his finger to hold a little water in the hollow of his palm to drink. Meanwhile, there is another who, by his well-directed efforts, gets possession of the seas, the islands, the mountains, and cities for himself, and supports all of his dependents and relations, and does not think this earth too great for him. It's an interesting way to end this chapter. But it's just a description, right, of individual karma. There are a vast range of individual karmas to deal with. Chapter 5, the necessity of effort. Vasishtha said, will or inclination, even according to the rules of law and scripture, is the prime instrument of all action, just as the reflection of light gives various colors to things. If someone uses unlawful acts to attain something that he desires, it becomes as fruitless as the efforts of a madman. It's an unlawful act. Who makes these laws anyway? Does that mean if we exceed the speed limit in our car and break the law to achieve something, it becomes fruitless? The laws we're talking about here, the laws of nature, the divine karmic traces. So when someone achieves something by harming another life form or being, this illusion of the universe constructed of divine karmic traces, then one creates karma. So where is the profit? There is none. There's actually a loss, a temporary gain for a big loss. Good or evil results depend on how you try. But according to fatalists, fate and effort are the joint causes of acts. The truth is, human exertions are either lawful or unlawful. The former lead to success and the latter to dangerous consequences. Well, that's a little scary. Maybe we shouldn't do anything because it looks like it's almost inevitable you're going to do something unlawful. Krishna points out that when we're identified with the silent witness, when we are the silent witness, then everything we do, all the effort we make, all the activities and the universe are supporting to the universe. Yogastha Guru Karamani. Established in being, perform action. Be the silent witness. Then allow the body to perform actions. This is why we always connect with the silent witness every day, many times a day, until it's just who we are. And every day, we become more and more 100% the silent witness. And every action becomes completely in accord with divine karmic traces. No more karma is generated. Then we start making profit. We start making gains in the path to self-realization. We have traction finally. Once we identify with the silent witness, that gives us the traction we need to make our progress to ultimately letting go of our existence. Fortune and effort contend with each other like two rams of unequal strength, where the mightier overcomes the other. Therefore, man should apply himself diligently and employ his skill and effort in such a way that his today may overcome his tomorrow. When two unequal forces contend with one another like two rams, the stronger force, whether of this or that man, overcomes the other. When one incurs a failure or danger, even by lawful efforts, he should know it to be the result of his misapplied efforts. So that's an important point. If you're operating from the silent witness, then there's never failure or danger, is there? Can't be. Impossible. So if there is failure or danger, we must look back to see where is the imperfection in our identification as the silent witness. Must still be some holding on to ego. By utmost exertion in the right way, like gnashing his teeth, one can overcome his misfortune, and that bad luck that sometimes baffles his effort. When one finds himself led astray by the demerit of his act, of a former state of existence, he must attempt to subdue them by the greater energy of his present state. One should endeavor to exercise his efforts so much that he may beat down the evils resulting from his bad fortune or predestination. So what is this bad fortune or predestination? Well, these are the rocks in the walls and the ceiling of the tunnel, and on the floor even, of the tunnel that one has created in the mountain ranges of individual karmic traces. And as we proceed through this tunnel, we can trip on one of those rocks, or we can have one of those rocks fall from the ceiling into our path or onto our head. So we have to make that tunnel really, really, really big, balancing karmic traces constantly. That's our only occupation. It's the only thing we do. Always we're balancing karmic traces until we cannot find another karmic trace to balance. And at that point, when we can find no karmic trace to balance, we're not finding anything, are we? There's nothing outside of ourselves, and we have achieved that state of yoga. The evils of bad fortune are undoubtedly removed by the meritorious acts of the present life, just like the bad consequence of an act of yesterday is averted by its remedy of today. Having trampled over an unfavorable fortune by one's reliance upon his continuous effort, he must attempt to secure to himself every good for his well-being in his present life. Know that tranquility is not to be found through the effortlessness of dull, ass-like men. It is the lawful energy of men which is said to secure his welfare in both worlds. One should make his way out of the pit of this world by force of his energy and diligence, just like a lion breaks out from his cage. Every day, one must contemplate that his body is subject to corruption. His beastly acts must be kept back, and man-like acts put forth. Good efforts are attended by good results, just like bad ones are followed by bad consequences. Chance is merely a meaningless word. Do not make your bloom of youth as youthless as ashes by sitting idly at home and enjoying the bliss of the harm like a maggot in a wound. That's quite the visual, isn't it? He who has no reliance on present objects, but depends upon assumptions from the past, is like a man running in fear from his own hands, supposing them to be snakes. It is a pleasure of men of perverted understanding to think of themselves as guided by their fortunes. Prosperity flies far away from such men who depend on their luck. Therefore, let a man diligently apply himself first to his reason, and then investigate the works of subtle, hidden spiritual knowledge. So this is actually a very important instruction. Apply himself first to his reason. That means meditate, transcend, go within, use the intellect to discern the finer and finer states of the mantra, balance karmic traces in that way, and then investigate the works of subtle, hidden spiritual knowledge. Work on the karmic traces that are so difficult, which are the knowledge constructs. This is why we've added this knowledge meeting to our regimen, because it's important that we continue to make good progress every day in the dismantling and balancing of our karmic traces. This is a valuable way to accomplish it. Those who do not set their hearts to act according to the dictates of the scriptures, but use other means to make efforts to gain their ends, are accursed as madmen because their efforts are in vain. But people do not even try to make an effort. They think that effort would be endless and no amount of effort would make a gem come out of a stone. Know that like all things, there is a limit to both human faith and effort. Just like a pot or picture has a finite capacity and strength. It is by means of good conduct, derived from best precepts and the company of good men, that one succeeds to his object. A disposition that breaks loose of these is sure to fall to the contrary, to ruin.